Councilor White, Councilor Driscoll. Chief Cecil, I see that there's a lot of, out of the 3 items, the 2 are for include Janet Berg. Do you want to take this or? Okay, go ahead.
I'll take them. Yeah, Janet's not going to be here today. So the first one, I don't know what order they're in, but the first one is the annual application that we request to be allowed to go into an agreement with New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. This is for the proactive details that we do for aggressive driver, speeding, distracted driver, which is cell phone use and things like that. It's a $46,000 grant. There is no local match for that.
This is not the same thing as the seatbelt, is it?
It includes the seatbelt, yes. So it's kind of incorporating everything now. It's seatbelt, a cell phone, aggressive driving, everything now. Yeah.
And car seats, right?
No, car seats are different. Car seats
Okay.
are a different grant.
Okay. Councilors, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Make a motion to move it. Any second?
Second.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay, so the second one is a grant from the State Homeland Security Program. I have Lieutenant Williams on here, who can explain in more detail than I certainly can. Just to keep in mind, these grants are very narrowly focused, so you have to apply for very specific items with these grants. If you go outside of that focus, you won't get them. But the grant itself is split between the fire department and us. Our share would be $173,950. There is no local match for that. And again, Lieutenant Williams is on here if you have questions about the specific items. I think you got a breakdown on the items that we were going to purchase with this money.
Okay. Could you just talk a little bit of what it's going to be used for, Chief?
Sure. Lieutenant Williams can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sure. So there were 8 different items here that we had put in for this grant. One of them is a courtyard fence around our parking lot in the back. Currently, we had a grant for $27,000 to start that project. The total cost of that project is about $123,000. So the remaining $96,000 would be covered under this grant. And it's just to replace the existing fence that's there, which is only 3 feet high, with a 6 foot high fence. And it's the same style. It's a decorative picket style fence. So it wouldn't be like a chain link fence with barbed wire or anything like that. It's very welcoming. It's a nice looking fence. And that's just to secure our rear parking lot. There was $3,700 for laser protective eyewear. One of the things that a lot of these groups have been using against the police are the green lasers, which are very strong, very powerful, very damaging. Even a brief moment of this laser coming in contact with your eye can cause permanent eye loss. So we're asking for 100 pairs of them, and that would cover all of our SWAT team members and our public order unit to have these glasses that would protect from the green lasers. $11,000 is for a web EOC program. This is going to be a shared program between the county emergency management office, the police department emergency management office, and the fire department. And it's basically a software that allows all 3 departments to communicate with one another, and it gives you there's various levels of information in there when it comes to a disaster. There's mapping features. So, for example, if there were a train crash, a train derailment, you would be able to pull up a map on here and find out all of the local businesses with phone numbers. If you had to do a mass evacuation, all that information would be in this software. The county is picking up a bulk of this bill. In fact, they're paying for most of it, but the fire department and the police department would have between a $10,000 and $11,000 a year bill to keep up with the county. There's $25,000 on there for a photo kite. A photo kite is just basically a camera that goes up in the air, and you have some aerial some video, and it also has a it's not night vision. What's the word I'm looking for here? Infrared. An infrared camera as well. So if you had any type of disaster, you'd be able to raise that kite up in the air and survey the scene from the air. There is $11,000 for a Cisco ISC cybersecurity system, and all that does is it would provide an additional layer of security to the current network that we have. There is $2,000 for security awareness training. This is a yearly training that's required on cybersecurity. It includes, it's mainly for our IT folks. It includes known security threats, safe user practices, incident response. It helps prevent viruses and malware, things of that nature. There's $15,000 in there for a data miner software. That program would be used to actively monitor any social media platform for real-time intelligence. Let's say we have a certain individual that we are aware of that may be trying to get a group together for any various types of reasons. They could search just that one person, and it would find all sorts of social media information on them just through this data mining software. And then there is $10,250 for a Forged Tactical Team Tactics training, and that is specifically for our SWAT team members for comprehensive, fundamental, and advanced skills and techniques for our tactical teams. And that is it.
Councilors, any follow-up questions?
Yeah, I got to come back on this, and I think we might have talked about this before, but in a different context. But this data mining software, what exactly are the uses of that again? I mean, is this a predictive tool? I just kind of wondering the legality, the Fourth Amendment issues. Like, how is this being deployed?
Yeah, so it's not a predictive tool. It basically takes the work of one person sitting down and searching through all the various types of social media that are out there, rather than you having to search each individual social media site. This software would search all of them for you.
So, I mean, so was it a situation whereby you, I don't pick somebody's name, type it into the software, and then it'll pull up all the relevant social media stuff that comes up from it?
Correct.
Okay. So you would have to, that person would have to be on your radar in order for it actually to work?
Correct. We would specifically be looking for information on that person. Yes. And they would obviously have to be in some sort of social media area. Yes.
Okay. And does it collect any information about those people's contacts or start to put together networks for you?
No, I don't believe it does that. No, I'm not real familiar with the software. Our PIO, Sergeant Malinowski. So when we get these grants, I send out to the department heads, what are your wish lists and what's most important to you? This was one that he sent to us. So.
Okay. And I understand that that could be sensitive, but if there's a way for me to get some more information on that, I would certainly appreciate it. If I had to come down there and look at it myself, right, so it doesn't get out, I understand that, right? But I just would like to know a little bit more about that program if I could.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Can Mr. Williams, could you have the surgeon maybe put some note together as to what this is about, what it does, and the limitation and stuff like that? Maybe
for sure
have him address what the counselor just asked, and a lot of us will be interested in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And any other question, Councilor White?
No other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Driscoll, do you have any?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. So when you talked about that laser protection, I'd never heard of this. So you said when groups or folks use this type of laser, who uses that type of laser? Have we encountered that before?
We haven't encountered it here locally that I'm aware of, but it has happened in many major cities for sure. And there have been some serious damage done to the people that have had these lasers shined in their eyes. They're very damaging. These are usually, some of the lasers have been pointed at, you see them pointing at aircraft because the distance is so long. And it causes a big problems for the pilots as well. But yes, they've used them nationwide for sure. None that I'm aware of here locally.
Wow, crazy. All right.
Yeah.
And people have been using them in what? I mean, obviously you said it hasn't been used locally, but I'm just trying to get a sense of this. This is something people use at protests per se or something, or, you know, in a SWAT situation, or where have nationally have people encountered this?
So the most frequent use that I'm aware of has been out in like Portland, you know, where
Okay.
there are a lot of continuing protests of the, you know, like the Antifa, the very violent, you know, back and forth. So that's where I am aware of these being used most often is out there.
Gotcha. And my other question was, when you talk about the SWAT training that you guys are applying for, do you know what type of? I'm just, you know, just out of curiosity, curious what type of training would be involved at all? If I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah, so I'll give you the exact wording from the team. It says this program is focused on individual skill and unit level program improvements to assist agencies with maximizing team effectiveness in crime suppression, tactical deployment, hostage rescue, and counterterrorism situations.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's good for me, Counselor.
Okay. So, Counselor, why did you have a follow-up or?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, what does crime suppression mean? Is that a type of tactic?
That would be a great question for the SWAT team, Councilman. I'm not really sure, but I can ask them and have them get back to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, add that to the list.
Take a note, sir.
Yeah. So I take with the green laser. This is the point here. Is not it's not to get them, but to get the glasses that protect against that.
Correct.
Right.
It would be nothing more than something like I'm wearing on my face
Okay.
now, but the lenses are coated in a substance that would protect the person's eyes who are wearing them.
Okay. So it's not like a something that the police is trying to get and okay. Depart. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're not trying to acquire any green lasers. No, sir.
Okay. All right. Councilor White, you all set? Councilor Driscoll, you all set? Motion to move it forward?
Wait a
Yes.
minute, Councilman Joe, can I ask the question, please?
Certainly, Madam President. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to go back to the kite. He said something about a kite that would be used. I want to know a little bit more about what that purpose would be. Is that for the fire department or is that for the police department?
So the fire department currently has one, and we're looking to obtain one ourselves. And the kite is basically, if you look at it, it looks like a drone, but it doesn't operate like a drone at all. A drone you think of as, you know, somebody holding the remote control in their hand, the drone goes up and they can fly it around wherever they want. This photo kite, although it looks like a drone, it has limitations. It can only go up or down. You can't fly it around town or anything. So it has a box. You open the box, you turn it on. It goes up to 150 feet is the highest that it can go. And there is no lateral movement with that at all. You can't move it left. You can't move it right. You can't fly it around. It just basically goes straight up, and it's tethered by a cord. It's powered by, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this would be used, I heard you say, for what, emergency situations? Because is it surveillance? Is it a surveillance tool?
I wouldn't say it's a surveillance tool. No, our main purpose to have it in the emergency management office would be, I mean, any disaster you can think of, to have an aerial view of that.
Okay.
If you're looking for a missing person with the infrared camera, you could go park it in the middle of the park and do a quick scan of the park for heat signature or things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Majoke.
Yep, no problem. So for the fire department, what is the CBRNE?
Good afternoon,
It's in
Councilor.
the letter.
This is Chief Downs. Chief Kane can talk very specific about the grant as he wrote it, but to answer your question, it's for hazardous materials. That stands for chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, or explosives. That is basically, for the layman's terms, kind of things that would apply like a gas mask for our hazardous materials team. Chief Kane can explain every other bit about the active shooter training and the rest of the grant on our end. Thank you.
Yes, Chief Kane, could you run us just through a little bit of what your portion is?
Yes, sir. Chief Kane, John Kane, Deputy Chief of Fire. So as the police have mentioned, this is a joint effort between police and fire every year. The city is awarded a specific amount and it has to be used for public safety endeavors. It's the state Homeland Security program. So they essentially tell us what we have to use it for within certain parameters. So our portion this year, the fire department is looking for active shooter response training. And there's two components to that. The first is to send people to the State Preparedness Training Center in Oriskany, which we've done several times over the years. Nothing has occurred recently because of COVID, but they offer that training on a regular basis, and hopefully that's going to start back up soon. It's actually called Rescue Task Force Training. It's where the police will take us into an area where an active shooter event has occurred, and we're able to initiate life-saving treatment quickly and get the people evacuated before they bleed out or things like that. The second portion of that training is to do local exercises, which we've also done in the past. Again, nothing's occurred in the past year or so because of COVID. We couldn't get a bunch of agencies together, but we've done active shooter response training at the mall, at the courthouse, places like that. It helps us integrate with the police and the other EMS and ambulance agencies in the county, and do some real life training on how we'd respond if that were to occur. So that's the first component. The second is detection meters. You mentioned CBRNE. That's one of the categories, and we'd like to purchase some meters that would help us detect dangerous chemicals that might be released either just as a result of an accident or an actual terrorist incident. That is covered, and our hazardous materials response team covers the city, all of this county, and then 2 contiguous counties. So we always have a need to expand or expand our metering capabilities or replace outdated meters that we have. The third thing is some new portable radios. A lot of the portable radios that we currently use are outdated. They're no longer manufactured, so we're slowly upgrading our fleet. The biggest thing is interoperability. Right now, with most of our radios, we have a hard time communicating with outside agencies, whether it's the police, whether it's an ambulance that's been called into the city because of a large scale event. So we're looking to utilize, one category in this grant does cover interoperability, and we'd like to continue purchasing new radios, and this will help us do that. I think with the amount we have allocated, we'd probably be able to purchase another 6 or 7 portable radios and all the accessories, the batteries, the chargers, and everything. And then the fourth ask that we have on this grant is with the police to purchase our end of the licensing for the Web EOC program. Web EOC helps us set up a virtual emergency operations center, any type of event where we have a bunch of agencies working together, either here in the city or throughout the county or whatever, whether it's a natural disaster, a storm, a large protest, a large hazardous materials incident. This helps us kind of get everybody together virtually, similar to what we're doing right now, but there's also other components where we can start requesting resources, things like that. It's a very effective tool. So that's the fourth thing that we're asking for on this grant. Yep. pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Councilors, any follow-up questions?
I have a brief question, Councilor Michelle. So President Hudson asked about the photo kite, I guess it could be called, but I don't see that specifically listed in the letter. What does that fall under?
Yeah, Counselor, it probably wasn't in the letter, but it shouldn't have been an addendum. At least I got one, I think was sent to you, which gave every one of those items that Lieutenant Williams went over. It was a spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, it does say photo kite. I can send you a copy of this if it wasn't included in the letter.
No, I don't think that we got it. That'd be very helpful, Chief Cecil. Thank you. And then I just had an additional question on that specific item itself. Does it actually store the photos that it takes? Right? And if it does the department keep a database of those photos?
We actually are scheduling a demo, so I'm not sure if it does. Maybe Chief Kane may have that answer. See until they already have one.
Yes. So the short answer is yes. It does have the capability to store video and photographs. It's got limited capability in terms of that, so it's not going to have unlimited storage. It will be up to the operator to determine, all right, we're going to download this onto a separate hard drive, or we're just going to erase. But the short answer is yes, it does store stuff up to a certain amount if you'd like it to.
Understood. And then as far as SPD is concerned, would there be a retention policy concerning how long you'd be keeping these photos and what else they could be used for?
I think, yeah, so Counselor, I think we would go with the schedule that we maintained for the body cams, which, as you know, we I think got from for some reason, the school district, or it's called the education law, because it has to do with keeping of records. And so we had a whole schedule. These type of things would be kept for 5 years, these for 10, and I'm guessing this would be the same thing. We would keep these with that same schedule in mind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, a motion to move it.
I'm okay with it moving.
Okay. Council Driscoll, you all right?
Yep, I'm good with it.
All right. That will be that. That's the third item. If, right?
I think so. Did it, if it made
The
it on,
downtown,
Counselor?
downtown one, yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know if it made it on or not. So yes, this is a request to enter into an agreement with the Downtown Committee of Syracuse to fund that downtown detail that goes on Friday and Saturday nights in Armory Square. The agreement basically boils down to the Downtown Committee will pay up to $104,300, and the city agrees to match that same amount to pay for this detail. And again, it's the details of the detail is a Friday and Saturday night detail from 11 p.m. to 3 in the morning. It's usually 8 officers and 2 sergeants. However, right now it's literally nothing because of COVID. But when COVID was not there, it was 2 sergeants and 8 officers for those hours I just mentioned.
Wait, where is it, Chief? Armory Square, you said?
I will
Armory Square.
I'll add that I had held this item to get some clarity on the rate, and then I pushed it forward today, but around 11, and I think it somehow got lost in the procedural shuffle, but because the clerk didn't actually get it. But so I'm kind of figuring out where it got lost, but if it could move forward, it's just a agreement, not unlike what we did with Green National, except that we also contribute toward the cost in this case for the downtown committee to run those posts. And it would probably be a good thing to do given the lifting of the curfew. So I guess I'm saying my apologies to the PD for it getting lost. But if it could move forward, or if you, I'm not sure why it isn't on the agenda, but I'll take responsibility.
We have it.
No, we have it. Jessica sent it to us, Rod.
Oh, you
Yeah,
do
well,
have it.
Chancellor,
Okay.
Chancellor Majoke, it still has to go through the clerk. All the letters addressed to the clerk. She gave it to you to make sure you had time to discuss it, but if it doesn't get here before 5 o'clock, it's gonna go on by waiver. It has to be.
And
But the
Mr.
letters
Clark,
go to the clerk, which, by the way, we're gonna clarify this with Jessica because they need to come from our office. They go to your standing committees.
okay, okay. I mean, Mr. Clark, if there's a process that it's supposed to go to and it didn't, I would be with you 100%. So
I think it's-
Director Rudd, as long as it gets here by 5 o'clock, it can go on the regular
Okay.
agenda. I'm just saying to you, it
okay, as
hasn't
long as it
arrived
gets
here
here by
yet.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
The Councilor Majok seemed to say it differently, but it'll be there.
I'm saying, Director, saying if there's a protocol that it's supposed to follow before it gets to me, I don't want to break any rules.
Tim, can you get it to the clerk by 5 o'clock?
Yes, it will be there
Thank you.
within 5
Thank you.
minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
All right.
Councilor Majoke, that means if you choose to move it on this committee, it'll be available for the regular agenda. If you
Yeah,
choose to
I
move
have
it.
no problem with it. I have no problem with it. Yes.
But before we move
Thank you.
So just to have a little bit of clarity on Chief Cecil, you said the detail is 11 p.m. to like 3 a.m. and then you have 8 officers and then you have 2 sergeants.
Yes.
It's so what are we paying for? Is it I'm not clear with that. Could you just
Sure. Sure. So it's a specific detail just for Armory Square. So it's an overtime detail. Officers come in and work just that area during just that time frame on just those days.
okay. So and the
Councilman
downtown,
Joe,
yes.
can I ask a quick question on that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so Chief Cecil, you said that the downtown committee was paying 140 or something like that, and and the city was paying the other part, right?
Yeah.
And you said from 11. So you said from 11 to 3. So is that for the year?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's mostly for the summer and fall. I don't think
Okay, because.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't know for sure if it's a full year. I have to get back to you on that.
Well, I think if you
But
read,
previously, has that price been for the year
I'm
or
sorry.
just the summer month?
Yeah, again, I'd have to get
So
back to you
what
on
I'm
that.
trying to figure out is the governor hasn't even opened up the state yet. So how do we know when we're going to go back to that 3 a.m.?
they just announced, I think the end of May 31st.
Excuse me?
Madam President, I think the governor announced today that that's going to happen on May 31st.
Okay.
So I had talked to America earlier in the day, and she basically said it was the full year. So the math is 10 officers, 2 nights a week, 4 hours a night, 52 weeks a year, with like a 5% discount because of COVID uncertainty that they might not use it all.
So, Budget Director, can you help me here? Because I'm looking at the agreement, and the letter from the clerk says 104,000.
Okay, that answered my question.
Oh, I'm sorry, President Hudson, my bad. But the
second
agreement,
letter
the
from
agreement
Chief
says
Cecil should also
100,000.
say the second letter from Chief Cecil should also say 104,300 for the city contribution, so that it's like a match.
Okay, but the agreement itself says 100,000 in there. So if that isn't correct, then that probably also needs to be changed. And then I'm just wondering, how does it work that they're paying a set amount and then we pay them back that same amount? So what are they actually paying for?
I suppose
think the overall cost Councilor White, is 208, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going 50-50 on it.
I see.
Exactly.
See
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Yeah. I think, right? That's correct.
Exactly.
Tim, the agreement has to be modified.
It
Total as
is,
well.
it is, it is. From what I have, I don't know if what the other councils have. What I have is the 100,000 is crossed up with a red pen, and there's like 104, correct? Was that the intent, Director Rudd? I can see that.
Yeah, the intent was to make it like a match so that it was 50-50.
Okay.
The
Tim,
rate
what-
changed slightly from the time they submitted the letter, so that's why the number changed slightly, and then trying to get it to you is why it's got a red pen. But we can certainly make it consistent across all three for when it gets introduced to the whole council.
Right,
Okay,
because the
that'll be good.
agreement has the wrong number.
Yeah. And I think also just the way that it's worded makes it look like it's a reimbursement and not a total collective all put together. Right? If you go down to on page 2 of the agreement, right? It doesn't see a total number there. It's written like it's a reimbursement and not a matching agreement.
So I guess, Chief Cecil, my question, because are you all set, Councilor White? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am, certainly. Sorry.
I guess my question become, it's with these details. Is it a special request from downtown? Is it outside of the regular patrol schedule? What's so different about these details?
Sure. So it is a request from the downtown committee, and it's a request from the downtown committee on behalf of all the businesses that operate in Armory Square. They've had it for years. We've had it for years. In past years, the city has incurred the entire cost of having folks down there just to be a police presence and manage the countless bars and other activities that are going on down there on Fridays and Saturday nights.
So I guess my question is, Chief Cecil, if this is a request, and I understand that it fall within the framework of police work, but it seemed like this is a private request as opposed to, right? It's a private request. It's not. It's offer regular police details, right? Otherwise, because I'm trying to think of the can we are opening here, as private businesses are requesting details. Am I not getting this right?
The way I think about it as budget director is that there's a shift that we schedule downtown because of the need, because of the typical volume of like people in conflict and all the stuff that happens downtown on Friday and Saturday between 11 and 3 a.m. And we do that with overtime, but the downtown committee recognizes is actually willing to contribute toward that shift because they value it and they want to make sure it's there. So they end up contributing half the cost and the city covers the other half. And that half is just within the department's overtime budget overall. So it's like I don't personally, the chief should say it, but I think it's something we would do regardless, but we're able to get them to contribute toward it.
And I can add to that further. This is Joe Barry, the first assistant. So the downtown committee is a not-for-profit corporation set up under the city's Special Assessment Act for downtown. So the Special Assessment District was created by the city, and it's really kind of an extension of the city. It's funded through the city budget by the collection of the special assessment fees. And one of the duties of the downtown committee, among other things, is to use their resources to protect public safety. So, for example, they already have, I believe, a patrol of, you may have seen them, retired policemen who work out of their special downtown police, I guess. I don't know what to call them offhand, but so this is kind of a supplement to that because it's at night and it requires a larger police preference. But it's beyond. It's not just a private business thing. It's an extension of the assessment district, which is part of the city of Syracuse.
And I guess my concern in that is considering that this is an overtime, it is a request. And yes, I understand that they are paying for it. I'm trying to understand the part where we are paying $104 when $104,000 when this is a matter that should be put into regular patrol time. You know what I'm saying? Because if they are extending to pay $104,000, that's a part that says that, you know, this is a courtesy in a sense. I don't understand. My question becomes, why are we putting in $104,000 when it is supposed to be a courtesy that we shouldn't be paying for?
Counselor, the history is that because of the activity in Armory Square, we would be down there anyway. And what has happened is that because of the availability of officers, et cetera, or what else is going on in the city, we haven't been able to, and there's been a concern that we have not been able to put the number of officers down there. What the downtown committee has said is that we will contribute to your being able to put officers dedicated to that area during the specific times when the call volume is higher. We would be there and have been there anyway. And now to help secure the fact that we will dedicate people there, they're contributing to the cost.
Any other counselors with questions? I'll have more discussion offline with this, but Councilor White, you wanna make a motion to move it?
Yeah, I think this should go on the agenda. I mean, if you've been out, you know, during the weekend, during normal times, during you know, pre-COVID, you know, it's an absolutely necessary detail. You know, they constantly are having to intervene to whether it's a safety issue or they're breaking up fights or whatever else is going on. So I definitely think that this is something that we should move.
Yeah, and I'm okay for it to move. My question, more of it is centered around there are other nonprofit here or other organization that or in the city that request details, and you know, if there is going to be an officer dedicated to that, they somehow pay for that, and I don't know. And city never matched that. I'm just thinking why this is so unique. But like I said,
I think you should look at it from the reverse. They're matching us. We're already there paying the cost. Now they're contributing, which hadn't been done before. So it's kind of the reverse of what you just said.
Okay.
And
right.
just there are different entities that contribute to the cost of having officers on site. For instance, not long ago, there was the legislation that went before the council for Green National to support reimbursement of police officers at the building that has problems.
Thank you, sir.
So, bless you. The rates and all of that, it does kind of change depending on the entity that's asking and the way the city views the relationship. So I'm trying to make it more consistent, but there's not like you downtown committee, if you're asking for, if you're willing to contribute, that you have to contribute 100%. Like we often say, oh yes, we are willing to put that shift and we're happy to take we're glad you're able to contribute toward the shift. And we tend to it's not totally consistent what has happened over time with different groups. Because, for instance, you may not want to subsidize the officers at a problematic for-profit large housing unit, but you may want to subsidize the activities downtown so that people go downtown and feel safe and all of that. So they end up with different agreements, and it does make it so it appears inconsistent because, to be honest, it has been sort of inconsistent, but I don't think that means it's not appropriate.
Again, are we okay with this, Councilor White? Councilor Driscoll?
Yes.
We move it? Okay. All right,
I'm good.
if there's no other questions, that should be it. All three items will go on the agenda. If nothing else, this brings us to conclusion of the committee meeting. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.